sense? Good. Also, seriously, if you do have a question, go ahead, throw your hand up, lift your pen. I really want to have a conversation. I don't want to talk the whole time. I do plan to end on time. So I might run through some stuff kind of fast. So if you also need me to clear something up, say something. Good? So the first thing I want to talk about as an intro into this idea of now that you're down and what you're going to do with it, there are a couple of things I need to cover out the gate. The first one is, if you are in a relationship, before you really start heeding anything I'm saying, I need you right now to evaluate the person you're in a relationship with. For those of you that are actually in one. Think about who they are, because some of this stuff just won't count, depending upon who you're with. If you know that you met under terms that God would not be happy with, and they are not necessarily the person that role model of Christianity, fine. That you choose to be with them. That's your business. I'm not touching that. But just go ahead and accept that's who it is. I'm not going to try to give you advice that will change and transform anybody. If I know that I'm dealing with somebody who's going to kill me, then there's certain things I'm not going to do because they might just kill me. Make sense? Okay. So just automatically adjust and deal with, this is the person I'm in a relationship with. This will work. This will not work. Go on. Just accept that. We'll be okay. The second thing is, I want us to deal with what are the jobs, what are the functions, and the evidence of a healthy relationship. And if we use any biblical example, obviously the easiest one will be Adam and Eve. What had to be covered before this relationship was successful? The first thing that we find is you have Adam, who was made, and you have Eve, who was made. They were completely made individuals. Adam was his own man doing his own thing. He didn't need anybody. He was complete in and of himself. Eve was made, she was complete in and of herself. This was not a half and half kind of deal. Alright? The reality is, once you take two complete people, you have a lot better chance to deal with your relationship than if somebody's half and half. That way I don't have to depend on you to complete me. Let's go ahead. If there's a woman who thinks she needs a man to make her a woman, you're going to have a problem. If there's a man that thinks he needs a woman to make him a man, that's a problem. The simple way to put that is, if you need a woman to make you a man, well then what can 10 women do? And then you start realizing why people might start dipping out and doing a lot of extra stuff. If I'm looking for something to complete me, I will continue to keep looking. Or the men that I don't think you satisfy, I'll begin to keep my eye out for other things that do satisfy. That doesn't have to be a person, it could be something else. But the reality is I need to be complete within myself before I even try to lean on somebody else and mess them up. There was an example, I remember, if you have one person who can stand on their own and another person who can stand on their own, then you automatically have solid foundation in your relationship. If you have one person leaning on the other, then eventually one falls. If you have the other one leaning on the other, one falls. If you have both leaning on both, eventually they both fall. You need structure. Alright? So the idea of what's a healthy relationship, you have to be your own person. Two, when we hear about Eve being made, she was a helpmate. Help. This is all about help, how we do this thing together. Three, trust. There has to be trust. If there's not trust in a relationship, I don't care how old you are, you know it's not going to work. Clean. If I can't trust you, forget it. It's done. And I don't mean trust that you're not going to cheat on me. I mean just simple things. Trust. I trust that you are intelligent. If I don't believe you are intelligent, we're going to have a problem in the relationship because I'm going to feel I'm smarter than you are. And there's joint liability and consequences. We look at Adam and Eve once again. Eve picked the apple, both of them ate of the fruit, they both got in trouble. It's not kind of like, oh, that's your fault, and then you get to alienate. No, it's joint liability. We're both in this thing together. Somebody did something to mess up, it messed us both up. Joint liability. Some of you already engaged in some of your previous relationships or current relationships and recognize this may not already work in what I think a functional relationship is. So once again, making the adjustments accordingly. Two, not only evaluate the person that you're in a relationship with, but evaluate the kind of relationship that you have. This is all pre-stuff before I even get into it. What kind of relationship do you have? Do you have one that builds each other up? imbalance, so one person's holding all the weight and the other one isn't doing anything, you got to accept what that is as well. Decide, and right, I'm telling you now, evaluate what these are. The minute that you're honest with those, automatically change how you're going to address who you're with, or who you think you're going to be with, or who you work with. Evaluate yourself in a relationship. This is the part that most of us will never, ever, 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 ever do. I love talking to people that get mad when people judge them, and then they judge the people who judge them. And what happens is they are very, very skilled at seeing what other people do, but they can't. If you bring up the fact that they're judging someone else, they still won't believe you. You could play a recording of them doing it, and they still will find another reason for what they did. They say, well, that's not judging. That's this, that, or the other. So, who are you in a relationship? Are you needy? If so, go and accept it. Are you isolated, so you don't really want to deal with people? Are you rude? Are you detached? Are you helpful? Are you hopeful? Etc. and so on and so forth. I know for me, I'm very blunt. That's just who I am as a person. So I know within a relationship, I have to be very conscious how I say what I say. I don't necessarily have to change what I'm trying to say, but I definitely got to change how I deliver it. Because I understand that's one thing that I am. I also know that I'm very isolated. So I tend to take to myself. That can also be a problem in a relationship if I'm with someone else who is not that way. It's just understanding what you're involved in. Is this the relationship I want to be in? Let's clear that out now. If you're in a relationship right now, do you want to be in it? These are just questions to ask yourself. Or do I want to continue? Some people love their relationship but understand that they don't want to keep putting in this kind of work. If this is what it's going to take, I don't want to do it anymore. Look at the standards of healthy relationships. That you know, do you fit those standards? You got to ask, why am I in the relationship I'm in? Why, if you are with someone in the room, why are you with them? Is it because your emotions just flutter when you see them? Is it because I said I'd do it and I'm going to keep on doing it? Is it because you just haven't found out how to get out yet? Why are you in the relationship that you're in? Do you have a relationship business plan? What's your point? Are y'all just together, just to be together because you ain't got nothing better to do with your life? Or do you have an end goal? One of the best things that you'll find in successful marriages or successful relationships is you have an end purpose. People who date a lot of people. Because there's no reason to the date. It's kind of like, oh, I like you, and I don't like you, so we leave. Or, hey, I like you, or you're upset with me, so I leave. But if you have a point, if you look at a married couple who has kids and they say our goal is to make sure that these kids do well, then they automatically begin to funnel everything to those kids. Now, I'm not saying that's the way to go all the time. Because a lot of times when the kids are gone, the actual interaction between the male and female realize, I don't know you anymore because we've been parents for the last 20 years. And we haven't had a conversation. So I'm not saying do that, but you at least need a destination. Why are you traveling together? It's a big commitment to travel with somebody through life, whether it's 2 months, a year, 5 years. It's a big commitment because in that month, or in those 2 years, or in those 3 years, you will go through so many ups and downs that it's kind of ridiculous. I have friends that have never put me through the stress that girlfriends have put me through in 2 months. And I've known those guys for at least 25 years. And they have not put me through the same stress I've dealt with in 2 months from certain relationships. So if I'm going to join myself to you, I need to know why am I joined to you. Because you're going to put me through something. Whether I'm going to be really happy, or I'm going to be really sad, or I'm going to be really blind, or I'm going to have my eyes really open. But I got to decide why are we doing this. It can't be just because. If it is, you're going to have some problems along the way. So then you have to decide what kind of interaction is necessary to grow the relationship, considering the two personalities involved. And this is where it gets fun. It gets real fun. If I know I'm with somebody who's